We're Kyler and Cody McCormick, two brothers on a journey to pave our own path while chasing our passion.
While building our adventure filmmaking brand, The Outbound Life, we've become sponsored by some of the top brands in the film and travel industries, acquired Fortune 500 clients, and have spoken on stages all across the country sharing our story.
We now invite you along on our journey as we sit down with inspiring entrepreneurs, creators, and diverse thought leaders to discuss how to live a life we consider outbound, a life where you believe your story matters and live beyond your limits.
Come along and live the outbound life.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, today we have a real treat here. A friend of ours that we've gotten to know over the last few years and has been, wow, just what an inspiration in our life and to the lives of so many people around us. I'll start by just kind of sharing a bit of a bio of our friend Justin. So Justin Forsett is a man of many accolades. Former Baltimore Ravens Pro Bowl running back turned motivational speaker, entrepreneur, and businessman. Justin has this really one-of-a-kind underdog story, turning trials into triumph, showing that perseverance can take you to unimaginable heights while lifting up everyone around you. Justin was recently seen on Shark Tank with his company ShowerPill and Hustle Clean. When Justin isn't busy keynoting at conferences, training, or running his startup, he can be found raising his 4 kids, jamming to Kirk Franklin, or watching home improvement shows. Justin, thanks for being here, man.
I appreciate it. That's an awesome introduction. I appreciate it, Kyler.
Dude, we're so stoked to have you. Kyler and I were kind of reminiscing on the last time we saw you in person, which was literally a year ago. One day off, back 2019 of May, we came out to do a fun little project with you in Texas. That was for Adobe, but that was a fun little project. But that was one of those times that you kind of brought us into your world, and we got to see that firsthand of seeing some of your training routine and just, hanging with the fam a little bit and just kind of seeing what your world is these days and hearing, learning more about even the entrepreneurial things that you've been really focusing on these last handful of years as you've been out of the NFL. And I'm curious, since, literally these last few months, the world, I think, has taken a 180. We're all under different kinds of lockdowns and government protocols with COVID going on. What's life looking like for you right now? Or how has it changed in these past 2 months?
Yeah, I mean, for being an entrepreneur now and startup, I travel a lot. Like last year, I did over 70 flights. So I was constantly on the road, not unlike you guys, out there, whether it's meeting with investors or partners, really trying to grow the business and share the vision. So that part is now confined to the home and Zoom calls. Wow. And doing a lot more around the house now to, because normally we have help. We have a nanny to really carry some of the load for us, especially when I'm not here. But, now I'm washing more dishes, doing more chores around the house to make sure I can take some of that load off my wife. So it's really been good.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you're a family of 6 now, right? The last time we saw you, Angela was pregnant with your 4th, Truth, who was born in October, right? What's that like? You literally have a pretty full household on your hands.
Yeah, we definitely got a full house. So we have a baby. He's 7 months now. So yeah, having him and, toddlers, and one still in diapers. So 2 still in diapers and 2 very active, a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old. It keeps us busy.
That's wild. And I mean, so life is kind of happening online right now. Do you feel like, I feel like for us that in-person connection is so important. Like, if I could fly out and have a business meeting, in person, shake someone's hand. Like, I don't know. I've always been someone that loves to, shake someone's hand, look them in the eye. And now kind of having everything online is so different. Do you find that you're adapting pretty well to that, or is that kind of sucky and on your side as well?
No, I think I'm adapting pretty well to it because 1, I'm around my family more, so I get more family time in, and then 2, a lot of these meetings that I would go on, they probably could be just emails.
Right.
And yeah. I'm wasting money flying to meet people that we could do Zoom calls or emails, and so that way I'm saving money, saving costs right now, and being more efficient with the funds. And so that's been like the silver lining of it. And I've been adjusting well. I do miss, interacting one-on-one, but I think we're all finding ways to be more efficient and more scrappy.
That's big. And like Cody and I have been feeling that big time too. It's interesting because, I think when your world turns upside down and everything's, the regular life, these meetings and in-person things, everything's taken away, you realize how much less you could get by with. Like, did we need these meetings? Like, you send a fast email and you got something done, or a 20-minute Zoom as opposed to an hour-long in-person meeting. Like, I don't know, people are getting more efficient. It's really interesting.
True. It's streamlining.
Yeah.
It's streamlining things.
Yeah.
Which I think is cool on my side of just watching like the innovation that continues to happen. Because I think this time period, at least from the tech side, it's like forcing everyone to adapt into this kind of like modern age. When I think for the longest time, we've been seeing this probably coming more on, how business is going to be able to be run mostly online. Retailers have slowly over the past 10 years been closing, and going more towards the e-tailer side, and literally everything's getting forced right now. Even people that, I think I hear those stories when people feel like they're like, hey, my life's so busy, I want to take this break, or I want to spend more time with the family, but I'm just so busy, and they never get around to it. Like, okay, all right, let's, world's forcing you to do it right now.
Yeah, that's something cool. And I think, I feel like there's a million things that we could ask you about this. And right now, it's fun because there's so many different hats that you wear and you've worn. And right now we're talking to the entrepreneur that is Justin Forsett. But what I want to do is I want to rewind a little bit and let's go back to that NFL running back athlete. And that's a big thing. So I want to start at like the very beginning, right? So like, where did this dream to play in the NFL come from? Like, do you remember, say, a distinct moment in your childhood? Were there ongoing influences? Where did that come from?
Well, my dream to be a football player, it came out of a need to make it out of my situation that I was in. It was a vehicle for me to make it out of, poverty, just unfortunate circumstances that I went through as a kid, and it came from lack. And I wanted a way to make it out, and football was going to be my way. I saw a guy named Barry Sanders running the football on Sundays, and it was like, man, I want to do that. And that's how I'm going to be able to, take care of my family. So that was kind of the passion. I started playing football when I was 7 years old, and just kind of put in the work and time to get better and hone my skills and my craft.
So that's amazing. It came from like that drive was you were looking for a way out. You're like, I'll do whatever it takes to get out of this. One of the things at the Outbound Life, because, like we're filmmakers, but we really have a philosophy behind what we're doing and try to live each day in this way. One of the things that's really important to us is this idea that you need to believe that your story matters, right? You need to believe that you matter. And I know that, just kind of getting to know you over the years and hearing some of the pieces of your story, like you were told when you were on this path to growing as an athlete, you were told you were too short, you were too slow, not big enough, like NFL, people would laugh at that. And like I feel like for most people, those critics and those judgments, it's going to stop most people. But where did that like real sort of like self-belief come from? Because it didn't stop.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I heard all the reasons why I wouldn't make it. I remember sitting in my 7th grade class and someone coming in giving us stats about how many athletes actually make it out in a night. Most of us won't make it to accomplish the dream of being an athlete, because everybody want to be athletes and entertainers. And I was just like, man, no, I'm going to be a professional athlete. I'm going to be an NFL player. And it came one of my faith was a big part of that. I just believe that anything was possible because I believe that God could open up doors. Yeah. And then 2, I knew I'll put in the time. I put in the work, and I was going to put in the work that it would require for me to make it. Like no one was as hungry or willing to do some of the things I was willing to do in order to be great and make it to that level. So it was a combination of those things.
As far as like the balance, like you talk about being a young kid, listening to kind of authoritative figures at the time, kind of say it in a real way to all the kids. Like, guys, the reality is probably none of you are going to take athletics to any kind of place in life past maybe college. From your perspective, obviously you broke through that. You're the exception to the rule of that group of people probably. Where would you say people that, I guess, authoritative figures, how should they balance being real and having that perspective and yet leaning more to the optimistic side of like, hey, if you got it in you, you can do it. Like you can actually do it, even if the odds are stacked against you, basically in your case. Like, how do you balance that?
Yeah, I think you have to be real. You have to be able to share the facts the way they are. Like less than 1% will make it to the NFL. And I think it's good to have those facts out there and share those with the youth. And but I do think it's equally important to encourage and to continue to stoke those fires that the kids have. Like if they're passionate about something, let them know it is possible if you're willing to put in the time and work. Like nothing is going to be given to you. Like give me the stat that less than 1% is not going to make it, but tell me what the 1% looks like. Tell me what that less than 1%. What do they actually?
Yeah, right.
What do they actually look like? What are those routines and rituals look like in order to make it there? And then leave it up to me. Leave it up to me to be that guy and beat the odds.
Has there been any specific routine or ritual that you hung on to from an early age that you've just never let go?
Yeah, prayer. Prayer for sure. I stayed on my knees praying and just believing that this thing is possible, because I believe that for one, you, in order to see it, you got to believe it first. You got to be able to visualize kind of your success. And I think I was able to do a good job of that early on. Just kind of think about what it would take for me to get to where I wanted to go as a professional athlete. So I think that's number one. But then just the work, like me being a constant learner and a student of the game, so to speak. Like I never felt like I had arrived at any level, whether it was high school, college, NFL. Like I always felt like I could get better. And with that mindset, it allowed me to grow and actually get better. So I think a lot of people, they get complacent and they get distracted and they feel like they arrived at some point and they get cocky. And for me, it was just all about remaining humble and hungry. And that allowed me to have success.
That's cool. I think, and one of the things that's so cool about you is like you've gone in so many different directions, like with having incredible success, but now that story is being used to really impact so many people. And you're using that gift of even communication you have of like your keynote speaking all the time and speaking to people's lives. And Justin, one of the quotes you've really become known for is something you say, which is greatness grows best in the shadows, right? Like literally in your story, like you talk about like feeling stuck and feeling behind, but for 15 years you kept going until you finally got that shot that you felt like was in you. When you talk about greatness growing best in the shadows, can you give me one story of a time that you just, man, this time of all times you felt stuck in the shadows, things were not looking good, and what was that like? Because I think that's where a lot of people might find themselves right now. Like they feel like, oh man, I feel like I'm in the shadows.
Yeah. I think the world is in the shadows right now as we're dealing with this COVID-19. But yeah, for me, there was one instance I could share. It was around 2011, 2012. I had just finished up my 4-year contract with the Seattle Seahawks, and I did well. And it was going into free agency, expecting a big contract, and no one's calling. And free agency opens up. No one's giving me a call offering any contract, and my phone is silent. I go back to Cal, my school, and I'm working out as much as I can, staying out of the La Quinta Hotel, and not knowing what the future is going to hold for me and, my future wife at the time. She was my fiance at that time, and our wife at that time. And then I remember working out in that hotel room, working out at the stadium, and then going back to that hotel room by myself. And because my wife was playing overseas and playing volleyball at the time. Mm-hmm. And I remember just being in there crying my eyes out because it was months and months of me not having any type of leads for a team. And I felt like I did everything I could do. I put in the work, I put in the time. No one's calling, no one's interested in my services. And I remember it was at late night in that La Quinta Hotel, and it was in Berkeley, California, so it wasn't like the best hotel that you could be in. And I just got on my knees crying and praying, just like, man, I need a breakthrough, God, I need something. And I remember dusting myself off and thinking to myself that, okay, I know there's a lot out of my control. I don't know what the future holds for me, but I'm just going to trust and believe that God is going to make a way for me. And I was going to continue to work and prepare as if for whenever my opportunity came, and excelled at what I could control. And that moment, I went back to work. I continued to train like I was on a team, like I was a Pro Bowl running back.
Wow.
And then I ended up a couple months down the road. I got signed by the Houston Texans, where I had to actually do a tryout. I went in with a bunch of other guys. I did almost the combine type drills, 40s, bench press, all that stuff over again, which I hadn't did in, 4 years at that point when I was a veteran. And I got signed there. Ended up playing a lot that year, then signing a big contract that next year with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Wow. I think what's interesting, and most people probably have a hard time grasping this, like I can speak for myself in that, is you look at people that seem to have hit a pinnacle of some area of life, right? You made it to the NFL. How amazing is that? And yet still through these different stages, there's still so much out of your control. And I like how you talk about you taking control of what you can control, which is in reality a small chunk of life. But I mean, that's the thing, is like, there is still so much out of your control. And you had, at that point, you put in all the work, you had more odds in your favor, I guess, and yet it's still a struggle. So it's like, I think for me, it's hard for me to even understand you being in peak physical fitness. You've put in the years, all that kind of stuff, and yet you still have unknown and uncertainty in your future. And I think as we've learned more about your story, you continue to feel that. When other people on the outside might look at, oh, Justin, like he's probably got life all together. And yet there's still so much out of your control. You talk about like your faith and more of your value coming from that side. Like everything can fall apart when there's so much out of your control. So I think that's really interesting to note on. But even past that, so I mean, you journeyed through the NFL, had some amazing years, and now you're pushing into entrepreneurship. You've been doing some pretty cool things through that. You went on Shark Tank. That obviously in itself is a pretty cool experience that for me as a young business owner, I've watched Shark Tank for years. It's that show that I've stayed up to date on. And I really enjoy seeing the ins and out of how different people run their businesses. And you pushed through that. Can you bring us back to that day that you were on Shark Tank? What was that experience like? Was it everything you expected, or was it different? But first, a word about our sponsor. This podcast is sponsored by Rode Microphones, the Australian pro audio powerhouse, making incredible gear for podcasters, vloggers, filmmakers, musicians, and audio engineers.
Yeah, no, it was different. Definitely, it's unlike anything I ever been through my whole life. I've been in front of the camera most of my life, and but never in like reality TV setting. So I remember going out there with my partners, going to the show, staying in a hotel, and being bussed out to our actual pitch, our presentation in front of the Sharks, and getting ready behind the scenes. Preparing, getting ready to go on, like, because we were the first ones to go on that. It was a 9 a.m. call, and we was the first company to present to the Sharks that day. So we went out there. I remember the opening up the big door and the cameraman following us in. I can
hear the music in the background while you're walking down the hall.
Yeah, exactly. And going out there and just basically pouring my heart out, and us pouring our heart out. And I remember the rejection. I remember the pit in my stomach that I was like, man, we just fumbled on national TV, like a moment that we shouldn't have. And that moment, that after getting, saying, the judges saying no, the Sharks saying no. And I remember leaving that place, and we had to go to North Hollywood, I believe, to return our props, because we had to get all of our props for the show, and return our props. And I was sitting at U-Haul with my partners, and I had a feeling of disappointment like I haven't experienced in, I don't know, if ever in my life.
Wow.
And I was just trying to sleep it off and just praying to myself and just not knowing what we were going to do, but knowing that that was not going to be the last that people saw of me, and that will not be the last representation that they would see of me as an entrepreneur. And, from that day forward, just pressing through to make sure that people will see not only the downside of a point where I had some obstacles, but now seeing my rise to success.
Totally. What a roller coaster. Like, you prepare for that, you quote unquote put in the training, as you would, and you walk away with your head down on that. And that's, I think, like what you're kind of pointing at is even through these mountaintop experiences, like, it's never guaranteed. You do all the right things and it still doesn't work out the way you want. It's out of your control. Did you ever think if you just maybe, I don't know, benched a little more in the morning, maybe it would have gone better, or done some more curls? Or
I think about it all the time. There's not a day that goes by.
That's what I was
thinking about it.
That's what I was thinking, because I think you were looking a little small that day, to be honest.
That's what it was. They were looking for a more chiseled entrepreneur.
I'm just kidding. But even on that note, I'm even curious, your physical fitness. Clearly, you keep up with that. And when we were out with you in Dallas, just kind of seeing the training routine that you still keep yourself in, how do you even keep that motivation going? Like, what's the point of, continuing still such a peak physical fitness after being out of the pros? Is it something you just love in life, or what's fitness mean to you?
Yeah. So my wife is the motivation there, because she would be judging me if I'm not working out and making sure that I'm not taking health and wellness.
So you got to keep up with her pretty much.
Yeah.
Story. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't want any judgment from her. So I make sure I'm motivated, but I want to feel good. I don't want to be one of those guys that, kind of fall off the wagon, so to speak, after retirement, because I know health is important, and a lot of us struggle after playing, years of football. It takes a toll on the body. So I want to make sure that I'm being preventative. Do
you find that a lot of ex-teammates fall off that train pretty fast? Like, kind of, what's the ratio these days, I guess, in your friend group?
For sure. There's a lot of guys, that are suffering from injuries from NFL that will have forever in life that they're battling through. And they just don't have the passion or the energy to go out and work out as they would like. And then there's some just like, man, I've been working all my life and now it's time to relax. And then that relaxation turns into other health problems. You get high blood pressure, diabetes, things like that you're just stacking on top of the things that you've, accumulated over your NFL career.
What fitness routines have you kind of kept up with? Like, what do you enjoy doing, or what does that kind of regiment look like these days? Is it every day, every other day? What's it looking like for you?
I value my time, and I'm trying to get up, and, I'm not spending 2 hours in the weight room anymore. So it's like high intensity interval training and workouts where I'm getting in 30 to 40 minutes. High intensity and getting after it. So a lot of CrossFit, where I can do modified, where I don't have to do a ton of heavy, because there's no need for me to still do Olympic lifting. So if I modify it, I'm doing medicine balls, I do some body weight, and every once in a while I'll pick up a bar. But that's kind of what I do.
Yeah, probably just chasing the kids around is a whole new sport itself.
Justin, one thing I want to circle back on, I think, and first off, thank you. Like, something I really appreciate about you with us and with everybody is your really vulnerability in sharing some of these difficult times of your life. And I think that makes you more relatable, and it makes people, trust you. It builds trust with people, quite frankly. And it's kind of that, especially coming out of Shark Tank and that being kind of like a soul crushing experience, like really, really tough. And yet you continue to courageously kind of lead while you bleed, if you will. You didn't hide that. You didn't edit that. Vulnerability is really scary. All of us, I think, want to put out this kind of highlight reel of our life, and we would probably prefer not to talk about those parts. But I'm curious, your willingness to lean into that, it's inspiring so many people. So what's something that you think we can all do to kind of cultivate that in our own lives, that vulnerability? Yeah,
man, I think there's no growth without vulnerability.
Yeah.
Right? Being open, being transparent, being real, and doing what we would call a self-scouting report in the NFL where we would go in on our week off and do a scouting report on our strengths and our weaknesses and try to get better. I think we need that in our day-to-day lives, like where we can be vulnerable, where we can be open and have people around us hold us accountable and really help challenge us in areas that need to be challenged. And when you have that, you'll get a better product, you'll get a better person, you get a better teammate, you get a better entrepreneur. When you're vulnerable, when you're isolated and you're working in silos, that's when you're leading and when you're really walking a path of destruction. And, it can be very detrimental to you because no one can talk to you. No one can really be honest with you. Yeah. You're not receiving any positive critique. And that's not good for you as a person that's trying to grow and be better and chase greatness. So I would say one, tangible step would be to make sure that you're finding a circle of people that you trust to do life with and be open where you feel comfortable to be vulnerable.
How can someone do that? Like, I think the idea of having, a group of people, a friend, 2, 3, that hold you accountable in life, whether it's on your goals, aspirations, or other, areas of life. What's like a practical way to actually get a group like that together? Yeah, man.
People that inspire you, people that are doing things that you want to do. If I was a filmmaker, I would be looking towards you guys in Outbound Life. I would be trying to network with you guys and connect and get better. And you need people that bring value in your circle, because if you're the only person in your circle that brings value, then it's not a circle, it's a prison. And you need to find new people in your circle because those people will be leeches. And I think we're in a place where a lot of us have bad circles, and we have, we're trapped in these prisons where no one's growing, no one's being vulnerable, no one's being transparent, and people are staying the same. And we need to grow. We need people that are going to inspire us to grow. And just finding people like, if you don't have a brother, you're just finding people that are in your industry, reach out to them. And right now we're in an age of separatism. But being separate doesn't mean isolated. You can still do life with people, whether it's, on Zoom, with your immediate family, picking up your phone and calling people that you trust and start building those relationships up.
That's really cool, because I think Kyler and I, that's something we've been really passionate about from day one of running our business specifically. For us, growing out a support structure of people, one, that are at almost a similar level in life of us, or that are kind of in that fight with us. And that's kind of like our peer group. So we have a weekly think tank where we have a small group of guys that are all kind of doing their own entrepreneurial thing. Every week is a little bit different. Sometimes we'll go over some like curriculum that we've been learning that week, and we'll teach it and we'll talk about it. And then it just opens up kind of the conversation for feedback. So that peer group's so important. But beyond that, it's so important to have mentors and mentees. So it's people that are 10x in front of you, and then it's people that are, similar 10x behind you, basically, where you're pouring into people. Because my belief is that whoever you are, even if you don't feel like you are the top of line expert at what you're doing right now, you have value and you're already steps ahead of somebody. So it's so important to find people that you can pour into, because that even grows a muscle in yourself. But then having mentors that are 10x beyond you, that they can pour into you. And I think the key really is like asking for feedback, because I know I've definitely gotten in circles of maybe a peer group in life that they just give the feedback that I want to hear. It's like, hey, is this a good idea? Yeah, dude, that sounds great. Like, push forward. Hey, I think I'm going to change and pivot the business or come up with this idea. Yeah, no, that's a great idea. Right? It's like, we've all kind of heard that. And it's not until you've got, I don't know, for us, it's been like a mentor that's like, guys, does that make sense? Like, what are you doing? And we're like, well, come on, I put 2 years into this.
Right.
I don't know, like, to you, like, what is, can you think of a time in life where you've had like an awakening with feedback? Like someone was like, Justin, you're doing this wrong.
Yeah. A number of coaches that will pour into me and tell me, hey, man, this is what you need to do. If you want to get more playing time, if you want to accomplish the goals that you set before the season, like, this is what you need to do. You got to stop I can remember my coach in college just like, man, you got to eat right, man. You're not eating right. You're eating junk. You're putting bad food in your body. Like, you got to treat your body better. This is how you eat. This is how you provide for your family. And I did a 180 and changed, with that feedback. It's not something I want to hear as a college kid because you're just trying to eat whatever you can eat at the time, you have a budget, but making that sacrifice even now, even at that point, it's like, okay, that will make a difference and it pay dividends in the long run. And it's something I didn't want to necessarily hear at the time because I had I feel like a good excuse, but if you want to be great, you got to make some sacrifices and, got to listen to some criticism that you may not want to hear.
Yeah. Something I want to talk about with you is this idea of, of course we're talking about how important it is in each of our lives to never stop striving for that greatness, but I feel like one of the challenges, if there's not any disclaimers around that, is you're going to keep climbing a ladder and you get to the top of this and then, let's go to the top of that ladder and keep going. But it's not necessarily, it's kind of like the idea of like, you know what, I'm going to live my entire life so I can retire on this beach. Then when I get to that beach, I'll be happy. But you never learned how to actually enjoy the stuff right in front of you, even if you had all of it. So like, how do you balance that self-improvement with self-compassion in that weird ratio? What does that look like? Man,
that is a great question. I don't know if I have it all figured out right now. I'm sure I don't. But like, I'm very goal oriented and I love to chase after, things that seem to be out of my reach.
Yeah.
But I do think it's important to live in the moment because tomorrow is not even promised. So, you could be fighting for something that you never even see. So I think it's like while you're going after something, like go hard at it. Like if you want to, one day win an Emmy or Oscar, do that. Go when those times throughout the day when you're focused on your work, go all in. But when it's time to put the laptop down, put the camera down, put the mic down, relax, enjoy your life, enjoy your family, be present. Because at the end of the day, those things hold the most weight and the most significance, and those things, I believe. Especially when you talk about family and friends and community, those things you'll be more proud of at the end of the day than accomplishments of, awards. And when we think about, especially as a company, when we talk about like we want to be great, we want to chase greatness, how we see greatness and how it's portrayed, it has nothing to do with power. It has nothing to do with accolades. But what we've seen modeled in greatness is service and humility. So finding ways to make people better around you, finding ways to humble yourself and lead in service and to make a bigger impact that maybe not even has anything to do with you. Because at the end of the day, we believe that those things matter the most. Like, of course, I would love to be this company that, we're valued at, $1 billion and, get an exit and we're winning awards for, best content and all this stuff, best products, all those things are great. But if someone can say, man, this company was able to, serve communities that lack access to clean water and actually change the life, like where somebody could live longer, somebody could have the confidence to go out and chase after their dreams, like that stuff, that holds more weight to me than actually some of those other things that I mentioned before that were materialistic.
Have you been able to do any of those kind of like fun projects with your ShowerPill team? How have you guys engaged in that, or more of like that community service?
Yeah, that's a big part of who we are. We like to say that we're not a company with a mission, but we're a mission that just so happens to be a company. We're here for impact and service. That's our mission. And we focus on delighting our customers. Like any goal that we have, we will accomplish it because we're hyper focused on the needs of the people that support us the most. And community services is utmost importance, whether it's our Shower to the People campaign or our free play movement to sponsor kids that lack the resources to play youth sports, or the communities that lack access to clean water. We provide our products. Those initiatives are important to us, and we will continue to do them because that's what we're passionate about at the end of the day.
There's a verse that you regularly reference in Galatians that you like to talk about, which kind of talks about not giving up in that strive. Can you share that verse with us and what that means to you?
Yes. It's a great verse in Galatians 6. Do not grow weary in doing good works, for in due season you will reap a harvest if you do not give up. And I think it's just important to remember, if anybody is trying to chase after a dream or a goal, to know that in a certain sense, in the football term, that in certain seasons in life, the best players don't play. And don't get focused on those things that are outside of your control. Don't get focused on somebody else's race. Like, just keep working. Just keep doing the things that have allowed you to have the success that you're having right now. Do not grow weary in doing the good. Like, if you just keep going after it and don't give up, you will reap a harvest. So I think a lot of us give up and we get disappointed and we get frustrated and we get distracted because we're looking at other people's races and we grow weary in the good works that we're doing. Like, we don't see that, man, I may not be, an entrepreneur that's, sold a business and been acquired by this big company. But man, I'm still here. I'm still breathing. Like, I'm in retail. Like, I have a physical product that's changing lives, that's helping people. Like, don't grow weary in doing those things. Those other things will come down the road. But I love to encourage people, especially when they're in this mode, when they're in the shadows and they're waiting on their breakthrough. Like, just to keep at it, man. The worst thing that you could do is give up.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess Cody and I agree on that same stuff.
No, and I think just kind of leaving, we can wrap this up, but on that note of not giving up, how powerful that is, learning from someone who truly has made it to some different pinnacles in life. And I'm grateful to you for sharing your experience with us and our listeners. That's something, just that inside perspective is so important, because I think it's so easy to probably idolize what NFL players have or what they've gotten to. And I love how you really ground your journey. You point the credit to where the credit's due. And I have one last question on that topic. So, playing in the NFL, stepping onto a field, the lights are glaring down, the crowd's roaring in front of 80,000 people. What is that like?
Man, it's really hard to explain, especially when it's something that you visualized since you were a 7-year-old kid, and you walk out and run out into a stadium and people are cheering and screaming your name, and you're thinking about it, it just gives you goosebumps. But it's really surreal. It's a real surreal moment to walk out there and people are excited and cheering for you, or booing for you for that matter, but you're drawing emotion out of people. Yeah, in a real authentic way. And that's pretty cool.
Amazing. Well, Justin, thank you so much for all this. I know every time we talk to you, we walk away with all sorts of new keys and forms of inspiration. I know people are going to be taking a lot away from this. Before we wrap this up, for everybody listening at home, where can they follow along with your journey? And also something that I want to make sure you can touch on a little bit. I'd love for you to share a bit about, ShowerPill and Hustle Clean and some of these awesome products that, man, it seems like you're innovating all the time. Where can people find that?
Yeah. So you can follow me at Forsett on all of my channels. ShowerPill has been our product for a number of years now. We're growing and expanding our product offering, being able to do some more traditional products within the personal care sector. So you'll see us transition into Hustle Clean, our bigger brand, umbrella brand, where ShowerPill will live underneath. And we're really excited about it. We're in Walmart, in Target right now. We'll be in Walmart down the road here later in the year. So really, really excited about where we're headed as a company. You can follow us right now at ShowerPill on all our platforms. But yeah, the Hustle Clean is coming soon.
Thanks so much, man. A few closing thoughts, guys. First, we're so grateful you took the time to listen today. It really means a lot to us to be able to share our journey with you. Second, if you got any value or inspiration from this episode, please take a minute to leave a rating or review on Apple Podcasts. lastly, remember, your story matters. So go for it today and live the outbound life.